Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. I am here to review South Park post COVID, the return of COVID. And if you guys heard my review of the last one, I think I gave it like a B plus or an A minus. I really didn't have many things to complain about, and it's the same thing with this one. In fact, I would say that this one was way better. I would say that this sequel, as I said, the first part was setting all these things up so that they would pay off. And I'm going to get to spoilers real fast, so I'll do a little non spoiler part and then I'll get to spoilers. So, in general, I thought that everything in this episode paid off in a really satisfying way. And I mean, like, not in a traditional South Park episode type of way. I mean, like, this episode was so good that it could have been like South Park the movie part two. You know how they had the first movie. I don't know. This was better than that movie that they made, and this was actually good enough, I would say, to be in theaters. It had all these moving parts, and they all paid off. They all came together. They all did something, except for, I guess, there was one thing that I was really kind of iffy about, and I'll talk about that. Well, no, wait, no, I wasn't. Never mind, I was misremembering things. So, yeah, there you go. This was a perfect part, pretty much. I would say that there are a couple of things that I guess if you want to complain about them, you could. But overall, this episode was so funny, and it was perfect in the sense that it was also, it turned into like a happy thing. Like it made you happy towards the end. There was some emotion in there. There was one joke that was so funny as soon as it happened that I was in tears laughing, and I'll talk about that one with spoilers. And I loved all the characters. All the characters are great. Pretty much, I would say like 90% of them. But I would still say that like this is an hour, and obviously, if you have a story take place in an hour as big as this, you're not going to have time for every single character to get some sort of a value of a some sort of a character arc or something important for them. So I will say there were a few minor characters that I was surprised that they didn't really get that much with them. And see how hard it is to talk without spoiling things. It's like when you're hostage and someone's holding a gun to your head, and you're like, okay, well, what do I say? What do I say that they don't shoot me? That's what it's like. That's what it's like. It really feeling like Tom Holland right now. But yeah, I thought that it was really good. There were a lot of jokes that just completely hit, and they hit really hard. And that was surprising because last episode I criticized, and I said that although it was funny, it to me it felt a lot more like a movie. It felt a lot more like a serious narrative. So there was a lot of stuff I didn't laugh at, and I just kind of like I acknowledged it. Like I was like, yeah, that was a smart joke, but I didn't laugh at it. This episode had a lot of laugh out loud moments, and the ending was really, really good. Like, the ending was the best part. There was a little dip near the ending, a little bit of a dip, but it completely redeemed itself in the final couple of minutes. And I thought that, wow, this was really, really good. And it's probably the best South Park thing I've seen in years. And that's saying something, since there have been some good things that have come out. I like the pandemic special. I like the last one. I liked, Banned in China, of course. That was really good. But I would say that this has surpassed those things. And I would also say that see what happens when they stay out of the political storylines. Things get a lot better. and because this was basically a finale to the COVID storyline, and that's not a spoiler, but you can see that if they want to do a good finale, they can do a really good finale. You know, this was so much better than those shitty political finales like the one where Hillary lost and the Troll Hunter 69 storyline ended like, oh, God. And this was better than what was that one, the Tegrity finale? What was that? Like, was it called Christmas Special or something? Was that what it was? I can't even remember. That's how forgettable it was. Compared to this, where I would say that this storyline with the future versions of South Park of the characters, I would say that this storyline is going to get remembered for a long time as one of the best storylines in the history of the show, because it really feels like I don't know, it feels like an important storyline. You know, like how the Batman, he has like the Killing Joke and stuff like that. Well, this is the South Park's Killing Joke storyline. Anyways, I would give this episode an A+. The few criticisms that I have are outweighed entirely by all the things that I loved about this episode. There were some really good twists too. There were some things I didn't expect, and there were some, this was a really smart episode of South Park. And people brought that up in my other review. They said, "Oh, you just want South Park to return to the poop and fart jokes?" And it's like, no. But you got to admit that the older episodes, they had a lot of smart humor as well. Or else the show wouldn't have never gotten popular in the first place. But I would say that this episode was extremely... It was 100% on point with intelligent humor, making fun of both sides, quote unquote, making fun of everyone. And yeah, it was just a love letter to South Park history. And it was really, really perfect. Now for the spoilers. And it's funny because people are probably going to point out, Marco, after you said it was really perfect, you proceeded to criticize some things. And it's like, yeah, because that's what I do. I'm a criticizer. I'm not a critic. I'm a criticizer. That's what I do on this channel. This channel is called Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies. That means we dish out on things, which means that, okay, for starters, wait a second, I'm suddenly forgetting about the things I want to criticize. Oh, wait, well, Clyde. I think that Clyde's character was done a little dirty. And I just think that there wasn't enough time. I just didn't really see a lot of depth to his character, other than that he just wants to have his personal freedoms, so that means he suddenly switches sides with Cartman, and then with Butters. And then when Clyde dies, that's future Clyde that dies in the past. But the past Clyde is still alive. So I can't remember. Did we get to see Clyde at the very end of the episode in the future party? Because I can't remember if we did or not. And I think that was something that was a little bit of a missed opportunity. Obviously, we want to see all the characters after the past has been fixed. And so I felt like that was a little... maybe I didn't see him. Maybe they did show him, but they didn't emphasize it. They didn't say, look, here's Clyde, I think, hopefully. Because that would... I need to time travel back to the past, like 5 minutes ago when I was watching the show, to see if Clyde was there. And another thing is with Butters. Butters had probably the funniest jokes in the whole episode. As soon as as he started talking about NFTs, and then the head of the asylum told them about him and how he's, all the horrible horrible things that's happened to him, and then they're like, well, we gave him a piece of paper. It's all on the paper. And he's like, you gave him a piece of paper? that was the that was the funniest thing in history. That made me in tears. I was in tears laughing at that joke with him talking to the prison guard outside with the paper cup. I was like, wow, this is so funny. And it's not what we expected, too, because, obviously we expected him to be dressed up in the Chaos uniform and he would be like an evil mastermind like Magneto. But it just turned out he's a really slimy, sleazy NFT salesman. I thought that was hilarious. But the thing that was weird was that the whole episode he had this identity crisis where he couldn't remember that he was Butters. He's completely changed into Victor Chaos. And I know that obviously they fixed that in the past to where he gets let out of his room. But I was still kind of weirded out that they emphasized that storyline so much and then they didn't really do anything with it. Like, I was thinking there would be like a scene where Butters would finally come to his senses. But what happens is that the two Alexas, which I thought that was hilarious too, the Alexas turning into like Dr. Octopus robot, freak psychopath robots. That was hilarious. They basically went back and forth with Butters, and they just kept like going back and forth as a distraction. But I kind of thought that was like a little bit of a cop out because I wanted to see if maybe Butters would finally come back in some way. Like, have some sort of a little character thing. Because a lot of the characters in the future, they had these really good character storylines. And I know that sounds weird, character storylines. But, you have Stan, and he has the storyline where he's depressed and everything, and he killed his family, essentially. And, there was that great moment with Randy doing the Tears in the Rain monologue, which was really funny, and then of course he falls asleep, which that is very accurate for old people. I gotta say that was hilarious. But then with Butters, he basically at the end he's just there. At the very end, when they travel back in time, like he has nothing except for he fights with the two girls, and then he's just there. And I thought that was kind of weird. And I thought maybe they could have done more with that. But, But the best thing, really, about the episode, in terms of just in general, was Cartman. Because Cartman's character did not do the thing that I thought he would. He did not become a villain, quote unquote, again. I mean, he became a, quote, villain, but he really wasn't the villain in my opinion. I don't think there was really any villain except for the virus itself. So Cartman, he had a really good point where he didn't want people to go back in time because he didn't want his family to be erased from history and basically wiped out like the Jews in the Holocaust. And so he forms this rebellion against Kyle. And I thought that was actually, I was on Cartman's side at first. And then he suddenly, he's like, I want to kill Kyle. And it's like, is he's, because it's weird, he's not making a villainous turn. It's not a twist where, this was all a ploy so that he could kill Kyle. He genuinely thinks that he has to kill Kyle to end the pandemic. And so I thought that whole storyline with him was really good. It was really the highlight of the episode. It was a lot better than I expected, and it was a lot better than if it would have just been, oh, Cartman was actually evil the whole time, and then he kills his whole family, something crazy like that. That's kind of what I thought he would do, honestly. I thought maybe he would kill his whole family and then pretend like Kyle did it or something. Like something really extreme and upsetting on purpose. But he didn't. He genuinely really cared about his family. And then, of course, he loses his family. And pretty much everyone else on the planet Earth gets a happy ending except for Cartman. And I thought that that was really sad. And they kind of downplayed the sadness at the end because they wanted it to be like a happy, Merry Christmas type of ending. And to be honest, I think that that's terrible. I mean, this is like the second time that this has happened, at least that I can think of, where Cartman has had a girlfriend, or he's had a love interest, I should say, and then she's taken away from him. And not only that, but his whole family, too. And that's terrible. I mean, is he ever going to get any? That's just terrible. And they even talked about they felt sad for him every single Christmas, and this is the one Christmas they're going to stop feeling sad for him. And it's like, come on, that's terrible. And it was funny though when he was homeless at the end. It was funny, but it was still upsetting because he had like the most emotionally impactful storyline. You know, Stan really didn't make any change at all. Like, his whole storyline was that he was this depressed alcoholic, but then he doesn't really make any change. He just does the plan to stop himself from ever becoming that way. And then Kyle is just Kyle. So I kind of thought that, yeah. But still, I would still give it an A+, because it was just so funny and so entertaining and such a fantastic payoff to everything that was set up in the first episode, especially when we finally got to hear Jimmy. Wait a second. Yeah, Jimmy. There's so many characters. Sometimes I kind of flub, and I don't want to look bad since it's a channel. I'm supposed to look good, even though you can't even see me. But Jimmy finally gets to make a non-PC joke, and I thought that it was funny. And so it was great that after all those terrible non-jokes where he's just like, do you know what's really pathetic about trans people? Nothing, because they're great people. All of them. Ha ha ha. You know, after all these shitty, terribly unfunny jokes, he finally becomes a real comedian. And to me, that was the most satisfying thing about the episode. And also, it was nice to see Shelley as an adult. It was nice to see Eichen as an adult. I thought that that was cool. See, there's just so many things to love. If I talked about everything that I loved from this episode, this would be like an hour and a half long. And you guys don't want to sit through that. And if you do, then just don't do that. Go sit through South Park for hours long. Anyways, please like this video, subscribe if you want to see more South Park reviews in the future, and keep in mind too, my South Park reviews are completely unbiased. I'm not going to pretend and just say stuff to get more subscribers, like, oh yeah, this is the greatest thing of all time. Like, no, obviously it's not, but still, it's really, really good, and that's the honesty. And yeah. And then please comment, let me know what you thought of the episode. I know that probably everyone's going to love it. There might be a couple of people who don't like it, which that happens with every South Park episode, honestly. You got to expect that by now. For some reason, like, even the best episodes have their haters. And then, yeah. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.